G'day everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thought I'd show you what I just completed. Again, took me quite a while, a lot of hours into these figures. What you can see in front of you, there are 10 figurines. They are from Lost Heresy miniatures, sculpted digitally by Bill Thornhill and then 3D printed. And my mate Albie up in Queensland sent these down for me to paint, and really lovely figurines, full of a lot of character, nice crisp raised detail, and plenty of detail, especially being Napoleonics. So they had me turning the pages of my reference books. Luckily, I've got a pretty good book on the Battle of Wagram, which has a lot of plates of Austrians and things, and plus obviously resorting to having a look at the internet to try and figure out some of the finer details of some of these uniforms. Now, I'm not saying they're completely 100% accurate, but I've done my best. I think I've done a pretty decent sort of job considering you could go even crazier, but some of them have got a lot of very fine detail, loopings of lace and whatnot. But yeah, they're very well sculpted and great fun to paint. Now, these are intended for silver bayonet or similar sorts of game systems. You could use them in whatever you wanted. You could even have them slotted into your regular Napoleonic skirmish games or large figure games as character pieces, or as part of vignettes or something like that. I just enjoyed painting them. As I said, it was a lot of work. It did go on for over a good couple of weeks, putting in sort of 4 hours approximately. Well, it's hard to say how long it takes, but yeah, there's a lot of hours. So, okay, what can I tell you about them? Well, as usual, the intention is to put up some pictures at the end so you can have a closer look at these. Now, what we've got is basically the Austrian set. I can't remember the precise name of the set on the website for Lost Heresy miniatures, but there's an Austrian set like for their Gothic Napoleonic range, or I think it's called something like that. And if you remember a while back, late last year, I painted the Russian set, and I still think I've got some bits and bobs from those ranges to paint. Yeah, so they do paint up really nicely, right up there with the high quality sculpts of people like Piano War Games and Perry's and all that. Probably cleaner than the Perry's in terms of some of the details and on the faces and things, but that's, I guess, what you can get with a really good 3D print. Depending on also, you need a good 3D sculptor, and Bill certainly has taken to this way of working and produced some really nice figurines. So what we've got here, we've got a couple of line grenadiers. You've got a regular German type grenadier, red facings, got the flaming torch again. Like if you saw the Russian set, there was a couple of flaming torch bearers there. Those are done with I start with black and then I start to dry brush up in sort of light greys until I get to like a tube acrylic pure white, titanium white, for a final dry brush. And then I use 3 different contrast type paints, the express paints that Vallejo make, like a red, an orange and a yellow, to get that kind of layered effect of the flame, and it's much brighter than other things on the figures. Now I go for a very subdued Austrian white. My Austrian white is well, Austrian white wasn't white. I think you'd find probably on the officers they had probably a more of a whiter kind of cloth, but the lower ranks their cloth was more towards a kind of a grey, and on campaign obviously it wasn't going to. It would probably go to a sort of a beigey colour or something as it collected dirt and whatnot. I mean, these aren't parade ground figures. These are guys on adventures in the wilds trying to deal with whatever horrors are arising. And so that's how I usually paint my Austrian greys. Now, there are some subtle differences. There's a figure over the back that has a sort of a different, more whiter kind of uniform, but he's more of an officer kind of dude. So, yeah, we've got two Hungarian regiment guys. So, yeah, with them, with the knots on the blue trousers for the Hungarian regiments, and yellow facings. He's got a bandage over one eye, and they've got some typical equipment, and then some extra accoutrement like cloves of garlic and silver crosses and wooden stakes, and for dealing with rabbit's foot down there, dealing with the villains. But yeah, usual equipment you'd find, like this, the bayonet and the short sword of a grenadier. Again, he's got the yellow facings, and the piping there that you get on the back of the mitre. The little pom-pom with the yellow and black. Apologies for any background noises. The neighbours at the end of the drive are doing some building. These guys are a German regiment. I mean, he would be a German grenadier as such. This is more of a German regiment with purple facings, and this guy is also from that regiment. What you can see just up in there's some purple on the collar, but it's hard to spot it. So he's got lots of cloves of garlic on hanging off him, and an assortment of equipment. So I'm pleased with how this sort of simple but effective torches work out. I don't go for object source lighting because I think as I talked about in the previous video, I don't feel that super confident doing that, and then it kind of like can mess it up for the rest of the figures. Like, where are they standing in relation to that light source? Because they're all supposed to be part of a group, moving around together. Unless you're making a diorama base where you say, right, this is where the light source is and this is how it's going to fall on the whole group, I didn't feel that I could do object source lighting justice really on these guys. So the idea is to make the torches themselves, the flaming torches, very bright, and then they're going to be placed in different environments and in different groups and whatever, and how the light falls is, well, it depends on the scenario, doesn't it? So yeah, he's got a great coat and he's got a wooden cross tucked into his belt. He's got 3 stakes there at his waist. He's got a haversack over there. Lots of lovely details, very well sculpted. Okay, let's put them to the back and bring forward the next lot. So we've got this curious guy here. We have 2 officers of one officer of hussars and one could be an officer. Certainly very full dress with all the braid and everything like that. And a Grenzer and a Cuirassier. Now, let's see if we've got those focusing. Okay, there we go. Maybe if I get it to focus on the what. Oh, no, that's blurted out. There we go. That'll do. Okay, now this fellow's a curiosity. He's sort of got blackish, reddish eyes, all blacked in. This is some sort of strange Transylvanian recruit of a bat sort of like appearance. He's got big battish ears and he's got a squished bat nose and pointy teeth. He's obviously some sort of vampiric kind of fellow who's in Austrian service, I assume. I don't know the backstory, But anyway, we'll say he's from Transylvania, and he looks very battish and sinister. So there's sort of some semi-humanoid things. So I've given him kind of, yeah, humanish flesh tones, but kind of made them quite exaggerated because he has quite exaggerated features. So he's got a much paler, the light's probably washing it out a bit, but it's a lot more subtle than that in real life, the shading and stuff. But his white is a different kind of brighter white, or more, yeah, a cooler white actually, in contrast to the others, but with lots of red and gold and things like that. I thought it looked quite nifty. Now this one did take a lot of time. You can imagine hand painting all this braid. Oh my goodness. And it's all over the place. The yellow braid, it's on his shako, it's at his wrists, it's down his legs, it's on his chest. It's got, oh my goodness. And then I've done my version of a Francis the First thing that was the Hussars often had on there, from going from reference material. So there was a lot of fiddly work in that, and bringing it up from various shades of yellow. He has gold buttons, but the yellows, I sort of went from Japanese uniform up through to a sand. Hang on, I better have a look and get this right. Yeah, Japanese brown as a base, and then next one up was Sahara yellow. These are AK Interactive paints, and then the final highlight. Yeah, so Sahara yellow for the mid yellow, and then sand yellow mixed into Sahara yellow to get, because sand yellow is quite bright, but yeah, using that for the final highlight of the yellow. So a lot of fiddly work that can really probably only be better appreciated by seeing it with the naked eye. But he is a splendid looking sculpt, and I really like how it turned out. So I made these guys both from the same Hussar regiment. But this guy, he's an officer. He's got his own sort of gold braid. Instead of it being the yellow, he's got gold braid. He's got here and a simpler sort of hat, but with a lot of gold, and the fur trim of the coat. There we go. Yeah, this gold down his legs, the gold lace, the loops, and again he's got the silver cross in there and stakes and things. So yeah, he's some sort of officer of that Hussar regiment. And next up we have an Austrian cuirassier, and they have like a cuirass that is only on the front, and it's blackened, with some sort of brassy goldy trim sort of stuff around the edges. And again, he's got a silver cross with some sort of rosary beads on it, and yeah, a stake strapped to his belt, and he's got a handy wooden mallet for bashing it in. Oh dear. So there you go. He's without his horse, but yeah, nice detailing, very fine detailing on the shako plates. Same with the grenadiers as well. That on the helmet plates, there's fine little intricate detailing being sculpted in there, which you can kind of pick out. And I used 3 different types of gold, going from a really dark gold up to tiny dots of a super bright light silvery gold, just to give a bit of bling. Because what happens is when you put the ultramatte varnish on it, it kills a certain amount of the metallic effect, the shine that you get naturally from metallic paints. So by highlighting it, you're kind of doing a hybrid between non-metallic metal and true metallic metal. See, non-metallic metal, you're using regular paints to get those dark and light and the blingy bits and stuff like that. But so I'm doing a similar thing, but I'm doing it with 3 different types of metallic paint, so that when it's matte varnish, you don't completely lose that sense of like bright shiny bits and stuff. So sorry about that banging. I don't know whether this will come out. So this chap on the end is a Grenzer. Now I think he's Illyrian Wallachian or something like that. As you see a plate of him in one of my books, with the the blue trousers again and the light blue facings and the simple shako. And sometimes one plate had him with some sort of red cover on the top of his backpack, but as he's wearing non-standard equipment, I thought he'd probably just have a grey blanket or grey greatcoat strapped over there. He's got a gourd for his water, and he's got a couple of stakes strapped to his leg there with a bit of an extra little belt. So he looks nice colour combos with the blues and the sort of russety colour. So that's them guys. Yeah. They were a lot of fun to paint. They really were. They, as I said, they were a lot of work to paint. It took a long time, but they're lovely figures to paint. So, you know, even though it's taking a long time to achieve it, you're ending up with quite a lovely sort of result, really, in the end, because the figures are just so nicely sculpted. So it really does help to have nicely sculpted figures. There we go. I've tried to get them all in a line there. Yeah. So there we are. Yeah, pretty happy with how they turned out. Yeah. Hopefully they'll be a great deal of pleasure. They were a pleasure to paint, and I think often the longest part of it that for me that can draw out the longest is the blocking in, particularly when you've got a lot of non-uniform figurines like this who all got slightly different colours and equipment and things that you've got to pick out. It can take quite a long time to get through that blocking in stage where you're trying to find, well, what colour I do that, and I didn't break them down into like smaller groups of like 2 groups of 5 or something. I was trying to do them all at once, as it were. So there was a lot of paints that were coming out, and then I've put them away again because the table was getting full of paints, you know, trying to find all the colours to use for the different shades of blue and stuff. But if you've got any questions, get them in quick, because there's too much going on here to make notes for me, like with such a varied group. All I will say is if you're looking at the Hungarian blue on the trousers, I believe I used this from AK Interactive. So Andy from Friends of General Haig, if you're watching and you want to know and you haven't added this to your collection, here we go. Medium blue from AK. So that's the base for those lovely Hungarian blue strides that they're wearing, and then I just go back in, wash, go back in with this again, and then mix some off-white or something like that into it to get a lighter color to get my highlights for that. But yeah, but the other things, hopefully I've covered off on before. The reds are the Scale 75 set of reds, going from deep red, let's see, deep red through to blood red through to a final highlight of Antares red. And the greens were some Reaper greens. But yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this has been a bit longer than probably my last video, but hopefully you enjoyed it. As I say, if you've got any questions, try and fire about colours, fire them in fairly quick, because otherwise it'll go out of my noggin, and I won't know what it was I used. Anyway, take care and enjoy the pictures afterwards. Next up, my thoughts are I want to do some Dark Age stuff, so look forward to hopefully seeing some of that, revisiting some old territory where we've been before. but it should be interesting coming back to it again and seeing how I approach it. All right, see you later. Bye.